folks, welcome to another edition of My Kitchen. Hey folks, welcome back once again. Yes, 2 videos in one day. Holy macaronis. Alright, so now for this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a chocolate fudge cake. I mean, it's going to be absolutely delicious. It's a super moist chocolate fudge cake. I'm going to be making it from scratch, right out of the box. Yeah. Woo! Alright. So anyway, in order to make a chocolate fudge cake, the important thing before you make the cake is to make the frosting. You definitely want to make your own frosting. Trust me, it's so much better than store-bought. And it's easy, it's very simple. I'm going to show you just how simple it is because Florida Jim can make an amazing chocolate buttercream frosting that will blow your socks off. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is take the cocoa powder, okay? You need 1 cup of cocoa powder, unsweetened cocoa powder. I use Hershey's, of course, because pretty much everything chocolate in my mind is Hershey's. So anyway, you want to put the cocoa powder in there. I've already measured it out to 1 cup. And you want to kind of stir that around and get the lumps out of it. All right. If you have cocoa powder sitting in your pantry, chances are you don't use it a whole lot, unless you do a whole lot of baking. But I don't do baking every day. So my cocoa powder tends to sit in the pantry for a while. It'll get lumpy. So just kind of stir it around a little bit, take the lumps out. Alright, I got myself a stand-up mixer here that I like to use. You're going to be putting, if you have a stand-up KitchenAid mixer, which I highly recommend you getting, if you do any baking at all, bread making, making cakes, anything, you want one of these bad boys. Trust me. I know I say that a lot, but when I say get something, that means everybody should get it. That's right. So on your stand-up mixer, you want to put this paddle on, this funky looking little thing. It looks like a little tree. Alright, put that paddle on, put this down, kind of stir up that cocoa powder a little bit more. Alright, so after that, the lumps are kind of taken out of your cocoa powder, you want to put in the butter. Alright, I use 3 sticks of butter for this recipe. And you want to let that butter sit out for a long time, a good half a day or so it gets good and soft. Alright, so we're going to put all the butter in once here. Okay, so now you've got 1 cup cocoa powder and 3 sticks of softened butter. That's all you got in there right now. You're going to turn this on, let it run for about a minute or so. It's going to mix together the butter and the cocoa powder, obviously. So you want to get that good and creamy mixed up together before you add anything else. Okay, now that that's good and mixed, what you want to do is, I'm going to be running my mixer, okay? And as I run my mixer, I'm going to be adding 1 cup of confectionate sugar and 1 tablespoon of milk, because we use a half a cup of milk, which I'll be getting out of the fridge here shortly. You're going to be, in this recipe, uses a half cup of milk. So you want to add 1 cup of sugar and a half tablespoon of milk as it mixes, just slowly, and let it mix, okay? Let it all blend in together. And you're going to add those in slowly until they're all, obviously all gone, and you use it all. So, let's get going on that. Alright. Sugar. A tablespoon of milk. And you're going to let that mix up a little bit before you add any more. And you're just going to keep repeating this until it's all gone. starting to look really delicious, by the way. And at this moment, I'm going to turn it off a little bit and just use a little paddle here to scrape the sides and mix it a little bit better together. Oh man, the consistency of this is coming out perfect. And if you know anything about my baking skills, I'm usually far from perfect. Alright, so let me get this mixed up and then we'll add our other ingredients. Alright, so now that we got that nicely well blended, we're going to turn this back on. I'm going to turn it on a little higher. Alright, and we're going to add a half a teaspoon of instant espresso. It calls for espresso powder, but I looked it up and I can use instant espresso for this recipe. So that's all I could find in the store. So I'm going to use Cafe Pastillo instant espresso. Half a teaspoon. Put that in there. Then you want 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. This is a half a teaspoon measuring device, so I'm putting in 4 to get 2 teaspoons. And you're going to let that mix for about a minute on high. Alright. And there we have it. Delicious chocolate buttercream frosting. Come on over here and take a look at it. All right, folks, and we got everything all cleaned up. My mixer cleaned up here. We're ready to use again. It's time for the easy part, okay? Baking the cake, okay? Believe it or not, that is the easiest part of this whole adventure. So, what we gotta do is grab our cake mix out of the box here. The super moist chocolate fudge cake mix, made from scratch directly out of the box. And you're gonna put your cake mix in there. First thing you're gonna do, I don't know if you heard that little beep behind me, but preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Get that baby preheated before you do all this stuff. That way by the time you're done, you're ready to go. Put it right into the oven. Okay. So we got our cake mix, a half a cup of vegetable oil, and 3 eggs. We're going to place them in here and mix away. So let's get everything in here. Be careful you don't get any eggshells in there. Nobody wants to bite into a piece of cake and get an eggshell. At least I know I don't. I mean, I would assume nobody would want that. I've met some strange people in my life, so you never know. All right, I turn it on and I start it off slow. That way you don't kick up any dust of the cake mix that's not wet yet. So once it starts to get wet, I turn up the speed a little bit. And I'm gonna let that run for about 2 minutes. Okay, so now that that's been running for about 2 minutes, gonna clean off our mixing blade here. Get all that good cake mix off of there. I gotta tell you, man, this thing smells absolutely delicious, and I haven't even started cooking it yet. Okay, so now that that's good and mixed, we're gonna add 1 1/4 cup of water. Get the mix in there. And start it off on low again. We'll be splashing around in there. Wait till it gets good and mixed. And then I'll turn it on a little faster. Okay, now that's good and mixed. Get rid of this. just mix it up real good by hand. That way you can scrape the sides. Because stand-up mixer doesn't scrape the sides for you, obviously. Alright, so now that that's good and mixed, we're going to grease our pans. Got two 8-inch round pans, 9-inch round pans. I use 8-inch round. Just with that less, minus that 1 inch, it makes the cake a little fatter. As you add an inch to that round, it's going to obviously flatten out a little bit. Just a little theory that us fat boys have figured out over the years. Alright, now you want to pour your batter evenly into the pans. Not exact science here, how much batter goes in each pan. Just use your eye. The more you do, the better you get. I am by no means a pro. That's why I make these videos for people just like us, who aren't necessarily professional, but I sure can make a delicious cake. All right, let's get these bad boys in the oven. All right, so I popped the cakes in the oven, 350 degree oven, and you're gonna let them bake for approximately 30 to 35 minutes. I will set a timer for 30 minutes, and then I will check the cakes with a toothpick. The reason why you check the cakes with a toothpick is you wanna stick the toothpick in the center of the cake, pull it out, and the toothpick should come out clean. If it doesn't come out clean, then the center is not cooked yet. Just a little tip for you guys, all right? So, see you in about 30 minutes. All right, folks, so it's been about 30 minutes. So let's pull one of these bad boys out. Take a look. Damn, it smells delicious. Yes, indeed. All right, gonna take our toothpick, put it right in the center, pull it out, and it's clean. So, pull the other one out. Alright, check this one just to make sure they both cooked at the same temperature, and they did. And now we're going to set the cakes on wire racks and let it cool. I'm going to let them cool down for a good 30 minutes because you want your cake nice and cool before you try and frost it. Because if you try and frost these cakes while they're warm, fresh out of the oven, all this icing will just melt and become a watery mess on your cakes. So make sure you give them enough time to cool down. All right, folks, now that they have cooled down enough to frost, it's time to frost. So I'm going to put that on top of my nice fancy little cake holder thing there. And I'm going to frost the first one. Good and even. Oh yeah, that's going on there nice. Alright, so I'm going to get this frosted. And then I'll show you what to do with the second one. Alright, I got a pretty good even layer of frosting on the first piece. So you're just going to take the second piece and center it. And just kind of push it down a little bit. And to do the same thing, you're going to frost this whole thing real good. I like to put a nice thick layer of frosting on there. I mean, who wouldn't? Alright, so let me get this frosted and then we'll get to the decorating. All right, well, I got that frosted. It's not bad. I mean, I'm by no means a professional baker. I have to say, it looks pretty decent. It's a little lopsided, but hey. I'm sure if I was on Master Chef Season 10, I'd be going home for this cake. But at any rate, it looks delicious and it's gonna be delicious. Now's the fun part, is the decorating, okay? I got some random colors here, and I got some different kinds of sprinkles that we usually use. Usually like to use like some kind of rainbow colors or stuff like that, you know what I mean? But I decided to make a mess here on the table. I decided to go with something a little sparkly because my wife likes sparkly things, so I decided to make her a sparkly cake. And of course, chocolate fudge is one of her favorites as well. So this cake is a win-win situation for me and her. Okay. I have to say I'm a little disappointed in the sparkly aspect of it, but that's okay. I tried. I don't know what I'm gonna do here. I'm just gonna use some random colors and decorate it, and then we'll check it out when I'm done. All right, folks, so there we have it. The random chocolate fudge cake I decided to make to surprise my wife when she gets home from work tonight. So there it is. Come on in and check out the decoration. It looks horrible, but I want you to come on in and check it out. It's kind of cool, I guess, in its own little way. I'm sure she's gonna love it, and that's all that's important. All right, folks, well, that's it, man. That's how you can make somebody in your life or yourself a nice fancy chocolate fudge cake, and definitely make your own frosting. You will not regret making your own frosting. Oh my God, that stuff is delicious. I could just eat about a spoonful out of there. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, all right? Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell. That way you get notifications every time I post a new video. And also don't forget, bam, there I am on Instagram doing my photography, sunset photos, my wife's and my hiking adventures or food adventures that we go on, or pretty much any kind of Florida adventure that we go on. We live in the Tampa-St. Pete area, so we post a lot of things about that area. So if you're ever considering coming down to visit Florida, check out my page, give me a follow, because I give you some pretty good ideas on local stuff to do. All right, so check it out, and hey, I gotta get away from this thing or else I'm gonna end up diving into it before my wife gets home. So, all right, man.